Here is a detailed, chronological report of significant Ohio government actions from October 21, 2025, covering legislation, agency activities, public events, and policy developments. Legislative activities. Ohio House passes Intoxicating Hemp Regulation and Taxation Bill *. On October 21, 2025, the Ohio House of Representatives passed sweeping legislation to regulate and tax intoxicating hemp products, a move that represents the first major update to the state's cannabis laws since voters legalized adult-use marijuana in 2023. The bill, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, 86-8, was unveiled by House Republicans and aims to close a loophole that allowed unregulated, potentially intoxicating hemp-derived products, sometimes marketed as knockoff marijuana, to be sold to minors at convenience stores and other unlicensed retailers. Governor Mike DeWine had earlier issued an executive order seeking to halt these sales, but it was temporarily blocked by a Franklin County judge, prompting renewed legislative action. Key provisions of the bill include: permitting and regulation, establishes a licensing system for hemp dispensaries, with a hefty 2-year permit fee of $75,000. Businesses must derive at least 80% of their revenue from hemp to qualify. Product caps, allows bars to sell drinkable cannabinoid products, intoxicating hemp beverages, for on-site consumption at doses of 5 mg or less. Retailers can sell similar products at 10 mg or less. Public use restrictions, prohibits marijuana use in public places, mirroring alcohol regulations. Taxation * imposes a tax framework on intoxicating hemp products, modeled after the state's approach to marijuana. The bill now moves to the Ohio Senate. If enacted, it would significantly reshape the state's legal landscape for both cannabis and hemp. New legislation introduced in Ohio Senate. Ohio Senate Bill 297 was introduced on October 21, 2025. Details about the bill's content were not immediately available, but it is a partisan bill sponsored by Democrats and is in the early stages of the legislative process. 25% progression. 3. State agency activities. Ohio Department of Development announces brownfield remediation grant details. On October 21, 2025, the Ohio Department of Development announced details for an upcoming round of brownfield remediation grants. These grants are designed to assist communities in cleaning up and redeveloping contaminated or underutilized properties, fostering economic growth and environmental health. The announcement did not specify grant amounts or application deadlines, but indicated that more information would be forthcoming. Ohio Department of Education and Workforce launches webinar series *. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce began a webinar series on October 21, 2025, focused on helping school districts implement integrated multi-tiered systems of support, MTSS-5. This initiative is part of broader efforts to improve educational outcomes through evidence-based practices. The department also highlighted resources for veterans and military families seeking education-related employment and reminded schools of legal requirements to distribute type 1 diabetes information to parents of elementary students. 5. Additionally, a new national program was announced that will award $50,000 and fellowship opportunities to 5 Ohio schools with innovative career exploration programs for middle school students, particularly those serving underrepresented populations. 5. Public events and statements. Governor DeWine comments on congressional redistricting *. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine publicly emphasized the need for a bipartisan congressional redistricting plan as the state faces a looming deadline for enacting new district. With less than 10 days until the constitutional deadline, DeWine expressed concern that failure to reach a bipartisan agreement would undermine voter confidence in the electoral process. 7. Ongoing federal government shutdown impacting Ohio. Federal shutdown disrupts farm aid *. Although not a state government action, the ongoing federal government shutdown continues to affect Ohio farmers by stalling access to USDA aid. State agriculture officials, including those cited by WISO, expressed frustration over the suspension of federal payments and the uncertainty surrounding the passage of a new Farm Bill 2. State leaders are urging congressional resolution but acknowledged that, for now, Ohio farmers remain in limbo. 2. Major enforcement actions. No significant new state-level enforcement actions were reported by major Ohio agencies on October 21, 2025. The focus remained on legislative reforms and agency-driven initiatives rather than high-profile enforcement. Summary table. Action type details agency official, key provisions dates. Legislative House, passed bill regulating and taxing intoxicating hemp. Ohio House, Rep. Brian Stewart 75K permits, dose limits, public ban. Legislative Senate, introduced SB 297, details pending. Ohio Senate partisan bill, early stage. Agency program, announced brownfield remediation grants, Department of Development cleanup, redevelopment, economic growths. Education Initiative launched MTSS webinar series, announced School Innovation Awards, Department of ED. And Workforce Support for Districts, 50K awards. Public Statement, urged bipartisan redistricting solution, Gov. Mike DeWine deadline in 10 days. Federal impact, USDA aid suspended due to shutdown. Ohio Farm Bureau, farmers in limbo, aid delayed. Notable absences. No major law enforcement actions or emergency declarations by the governor's office were reported. No new executive orders beyond the previously mentioned and enjoined hemp sales order. No major public health announcements or COVID-19 updates were highlighted in the available sources. Conclusion. October 21, 2025 was a day of significant legislative movement in Ohio, particularly around the regulation of intoxicating hemp and cannabis products. State agencies focused on economic development through brownfield grants and educational support through new training and recognition programs. The ongoing federal shutdown continued to impact Ohio's agricultural community, while the governor underscored the urgency of bipartisan cooperation on congressional redistricting. No major enforcement actions or public health updates were reported.